The Inhumans are a bit of a controversial topic due to Marvel's poor attempt to replace the iconic X-Men with the more obscure characters. Who I do want to point out, I do like the Inhumans, just nowhere as much as I like the X-Men. Now, the Ultimate Universe in itself is also a bit controversial with its constant incest and cannibalism. It did have some good parts too. In fact, some characters and concepts are better done in the Ultimate Universe than the main 616 universe. Also, this is the original Ultimate Universe, Earth 1610, not to be confused with the new Ultimate Universe that has no ties to this one. Now, I wouldn't say 1610s Inhumans are better than 616s, they're certainly different, with a gothic horror tone that turns the characters into something very unique in the Marvel Universe. Enough so that I wanted to make a video about it. And I know I just said not everything's about incest, but this version of the Inhumans do include a bit of incest. It includes a little bit of incest. That's in the background and not really addressed, therefore I choose to ignore it. Although the 616 Inhumans also have references of incest, with Medusa and Black Bolt at points being said to be second cousins. Anyways, that's enough about incest. Let's get into the Ultimate Inhumans. The Inhumans be a main feature of the Ultimate Fantastic Four's first annual from 2005, on the cover showing Ultimate Universe version of Crystal standing with the Fantastic Four. The issue is titled Enter Inhumans. Pretty straightforward. Also, the Fantastic Four's faces. Maybe it's just me, but something about it doesn't look right. Other than Johnny, they look more scared than surprised. Our story starts with two mountain climbers on a snowy hill running into two disturbing figures, who following this encounter take them out with the intent to erase their minds of what they saw, having had a glimpse of their home, Atalan. These two figures refer to each other as Karnak and Gorgon. Later in the issue we get better looks at both of them where we'll go over their designs. Also, if you don't know, Karnak and Gorgon are the name of two iconic Inhumans from the main comics. Well, semi-iconic. Being cousins of the royal family. We cut to Johnny Storm on the town where he sees a strange chase between a girl flying as two monsters follow her. He flames on to interfere in the attack, getting into a fight with the two monsters. Only to be saved by the girl in question, and a teleporting dog. This, of course, being Crystal and Lockjaw. These designs for the two characters, to me, are the weakest of the Inhumans who appear in the story, although they're given the most to do. Lockjaw has a more fleshy look, while Crystal's appearance seems to be based on Britney Spears. Johnny's hurt, but Crystal recognizes him as being a member of the Fantastic Four. Therefore brings him back to the Baxter building where the rest of the team questions her. She explains her origin as being an Inhuman from Atalan, an alien and human hybrid race. And that those monsters who were chasing her were the Palace Guards, saying that Inhumans aren't allowed to walk among men. Therefore, she was breaking the rules, which is why they went after her. She describes Atalan as being a heaven, as she details her family in this fantastic panel of the Inhumans. And I just want to go over all their designs because I think they're just so cool looking. Starting with Medusa. Like the original 616 version, she's Crystal's sister and the queen of the Inhumans, however now is depicted as an actual Gorgon. Like the Medusa of Greek myth, it's a very cool look to say the least. It's also implied that she is the reason behind the myth of Medusa, which is a very cool detail. Well, I think it is. This might be a bit too big of a change to some people, which I totally understand because it is a pretty big change to a beloved character, probably the most known Inhuman. But to me, I just find it really interesting. Since the idea of monstrous Inhumans isn't exactly new, but the idea of a main Inhuman being monstrous is. And for that to be Medusa herself, I think is a really bold decision. Then we have her husband Black Bolt, who is the king of the Inhumans and has the same powers as his 616 counterpart. He's also said now to be the first cousin of Medusa and not the second. Which makes the incest even worse. His design is arguably the closest to his mainstream counterpart, but it's still very cool, having a bit of a gothic look to it, which makes Black Bolt come across a lot more threatening. Next we have Gorgon, who is very different. This version of Gorgon is a woman and is the third sister of Crystal and Medusa. Her design is very spooky, reminds me of a Halloween demon costume or a spiked dragon. This version of Gorgon is probably the most different of her 616 counterpart out of all the Inhumans, since it's not only a change of gender, but a change of origin, a change of appearance, change of powers. All of which I think really works. Especially with this version of Inhumans, having this version of Gorgon being with them, I think, it kind of makes this version of Gorgon feel very vital to them. While 616 Gorgon really doesn't. No offense to 616 Gorgon. However, this one being the sister of Crystal and Medusa, I think does make her a little more stronger in her connection with the royal family. She also just looks really cool. While Karnak, like Black Bolt, looks pretty similar to his 616 counterpart, he is a bit older and now Asian, which would be something that would follow the character into the MCU during his very brief time in the MCU. This version of Karnak definitely fits the feel of the Gothic appearance of this version of Inhumans, but nothing really new to note of the character. And finally, Triton. I find his squid-like appearance to be very striking, and reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean, although the character doesn't really do all that much. In fact, I'm pretty sure he only has maybe 2 lines of dialogue. Crystal reveals to the Fantastic Four why she left. The Royals are assigned marriage to a specific partner, and she's meant to marry her brother-in-law, who is also her cousin and husband-to-be, Max the Mad, who looks just like regular Max the Mad. She says she's headed to New York with Lockjaw to get away from the Inhumans, just for the Inhumans to find her as they open a portal to take her back home. The Fantastic Four follow after with the help of Lockjaw, who the palace guards for whatever reason didn't really care to bring back with them. I guess Black Bolt and the entirety of Inhumans don't really care about dogs as much as they do in 616. Crystal's brought back home where she's met by most of her family. Medusa among them explains to her sister that she herself is in a lot of pain being paired with a man who could never even say I love you, without killing her. This is a way to try to nudge Crystal into marrying Max, saying, hey, I married someone I don't want to be married to. It's okay, you can be too. Which also might play into a narrative spin that in this version, Medusa and Black Bolt aren't actually in love, but instead were just married due to mutual royal status. Hence the very incestuous relationship between the two first cousins. Then everyone goes dead silent, afraid, as Black Bolt arrives at the meeting. And I do not blame them. Look at this panel. Crystal is about to get a firm talking to that will rupture her eardrums. The team arrives in Adeland where Ben and Johnny argue, just for them to find a group of Inhumans close by, which have yet to spot them. Sue uses her powers to cloak them so they can follow behind. They come across a rather interesting Inhuman gathering worshipping of a god, only to be found out, leading it to being a clobbering time with the Fantastic Four facing off against the Inhumans. This battle is of course noticed by the Royal Gathering, where Medusa scolds her sister for bringing them here. Crystal does apologize but stands by her refusal to marry Max. The Royals and the Fantastic Four end up in a fight, where Sue seems to be the only one to be able to hold her own against the Inhumans. As the guys struggle with Karnak and Gorgon, she makes her way through the palace guards to see Crystal was perfectly fine. The fight continues where Thing knocks Gorgon into a statue that nearly crushes everyone, but Sue, being the MVP of the fight, uses her powers to force the statue out of the way from falling on top of them. Which, by saving the Inhumans, they decide to call a ceasefire on their battle. Way to go, Sue! It's soon revealed that the Inhumans are now evacuating their home. As Max puts it, it's now been tainted by air of humans, claiming that Inhumans are superior to humans in every way, down to refusing to breathe the same air as them. Which is also something very interesting to me, because in the main comics, they don't really bring up the fact that Inhumans don't exactly view humans as being equals. It's usually the other way around. Or if there's Inhumans that don't like humans, it's typically in a violent manner where they're trying to kill humans. So I like the idea that Inhumans are just so passively kinda racist towards humans. Okay, I don't like it, but it's an interesting concept. Black Bolt then turns to the city once everybody is out, and whispers an unknown word to destroy the entire city, all because humans tainted their air. Which, by the way, is clarified as just being a preference. It's not like they can't breathe the same air as humans, they just don't want to. Despite Johnny telling Crystal that she doesn't need to follow them, she tells him that she does and gives him a goodbye kiss, much to the disgust of her family. I mean, I don't think they can judge because they're marrying their own cousins. I would also think due to their very strong hatred of humans that they would disown Crystal for making out with one, but they don't. The story ends with the Fantastic Four looking up into the sky, watching as the Inhumans fly off to find themselves a new home, not tainted by humans. The Inhumans of the Ultimate Universe afterwards appeared very little. With outside of Crystal, they would only cameo in a single issue of Ultimate Origins from 2008, that being issue 5. Crystal would return before that in Ultimate Fantastic Four issue 30 from 2006, in an instant where the Inhumans are asked for help in an upcoming threat, where they send Crystal to deliver the message they will not participate in human affairs. Which is weird to me, because this version of humans are on Earth, meaning regardless of what they think about humans, they're affected by whatever happens on Earth. The Ultimate Inhumans to me are very interesting. The idea of them not liking humans is different, putting them in a place where they're more antagonistic than heroes. Some characters get more time to shine than others. The Karnak and Gorgon fights were really cool, while Medusa had some really strong lines. But unfortunately, Max and Triton didn't really get to do much. And Black Bolt's big moment, of course, was him destroying the entire kingdom, with a single word. Although that, and multiple other moments in the story, feels like they're trying to set up something more with the characters. Just a hint of what is to come, but then it never comes. This story also has some pretty strong moments for Johnny and Sue, both being the standouts with their fights, while Reed and Ben don't get really to do much, aside from Ben almost killing everybody by throwing Gorgon into that statue. There was potential here. Design alone. They could have been more than just a single issue story, but now with Earth 1610 no longer being in focus and, well, it died, we'll likely never see these versions of Inhumans again. But maybe one day we could see an attempt at a similar concept, maybe even in the new Ultimate Universe. Although, yet again, most people don't really like the Inhumans due to what Marvel tried to do with them. So those chances are probably not going to happen, like, less than likely. But one could dream. And that was it for my second ever video on this channel. I hope you liked it. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!